Time Rotary came into my life, I was 8 years old. I didn't know who they were. I just knew there were some strangers in the room handing me a dictionary, and my teacher was telling me it was a gift for third graders in our district. I shrugged it off, I took the book, I said, thank you. Rotary came into my life again when I was 13. Sitting in an 8th grade history class on the cusp of high school, these strange adults were now sitting across from me and my peers, telling us about something they called the 4-way test. They swore it would help us make the best decisions in high school. I shrugged it off, I did the activity I was told. When I was 15, Rotary came into my life again. This was the first time I truly recognized their presence, but I can't say I was grateful. In high school, I was a box checker. I was someone who did activities over and over just for the sake of building my resume, not to get anything out of it. And these Rotarians had a reputation for being very good on resumes. So this time, the strange adults were interviewing me for something called RYLA. I guess I did well at my interview because I was selected. I shrugged it off and packed for a summer camp. Hi everyone. If you haven't met me this weekend, as Emily said, my name is Evyn. I'm the senior counselor for the wonderful Team 2. Woo! And I'm coming to you from Colorado after having been in your shoes not that long ago. Flash forward a few months. That ungrateful 15-year-old was now a terrified 16-year-old. When I say terrified, I mean that while my team was meeting, I was in the bathroom crying and texting my 2 best friends and telling them how angry I was that I wouldn't get to talk to them that week and how horrifically I did not belong in the situation I was in. Spoiler alert, I survived, and I've been with RYLA ever since. Rotary, and especially RYLA at this point, is almost like a person to me. It's a mentor who's watched me grow up and been with me through so many different life phases. RYLA watched me explore my identity and come out for the first time. RYLA watched me unlearn insecurities that gave toxic people a place in my life. And RYLA watched me get those people out of my life. RYLA watched me grow from a Comparee to a JC to an SC, and watched me give back the love I received and get to nurture others along the way. It feels almost impossible now, looking back on that trembling 16-year-old, as the proud and passionate 22-year-old Rotarian standing in front of you. What I can tell you is that without that girl, I never would have become the person I am today. RYLA found me at an extremely low point, and it took me out of that environment and made me concentrate on the camp in front of me instead of the struggles and negativities I was living in my normal life. In the years since my time for RYLA, I've spoken to countless Rotarians, and I always tell them the same thing. RYLA not only changed my life, RYLA really and truly saved my life. Now I know you're all exhausted and ready to go home, but if you'll bear with me for just a little bit, I'd like to give one last debrief to you, on behalf of that 16-year-old girl who RYLA saved, to give you the wisdom she'd really like to pass on, and some of the things she wished she'd learned sooner. So what the heck did you just do? You had a weekend. 1 full day, 2 half days, and you're out of here. You heard some speeches, you played some games, you performed little skits, you broke some eggs, got to know people you might not have met otherwise. You learned something about communication, something about teamwork, something about leadership, I hope. So what? So hopefully, you have 1 or 2 tools to take back to your communities. Maybe those 1 or 2 tools are connections. Maybe you met a friend here or a mentor. Maybe that person is going to be in your life forever now because of this experience. Perhaps what you learned this weekend is how to be vulnerable, how to open up to people you don't know and share not just ideas, but stories. It could be that the skill you learned this weekend was focus. Maybe all you really needed was some time to dedicate to yourself and your improvement without other obstacles or outside motivations. I don't know exactly what you learned this weekend. There's probably some of you that don't think you learned anything. I'm hoping that after you go home and you get good food and some sleep, you'll have time to reconnect with your life and realize you did learn something. And even if that something is that you hate team projects or you never want to hear the word icebreaker game again, Every moment of your life is the chance to learn some lesson. And even if it's not the one we as senior or junior counselors wanted you to take away, we're not the ones that are writing your story. They're your stories. So now what? How do you apply these lessons in real life? And what are you supposed to do now that RYLA's done? As I said, I don't know. You're writing the story for yourself. I have no idea if the activity and the leadership learning you needed was take a look around. I don't know if it was egg drop that taught you how to work with others. What I do know, and what I wish I would have more fully grasped at a younger age in my RYLA adventure, is that beyond the obvious lessons and tools you can bring home, there's a lot of ways to utilize your growth post-RYLA. The first thing we recommend is going to visit the Rotary Club that sent you here. If any of you are unaware, the reason this camp is free is because Rotarians sponsored your spots. And honestly, that's always something that's amazed me. Rotary raises funds to aid in the eradication of polio. Rotary provides disaster relief for those living through hurricanes and other natural disasters. Rotary sends bikes to Africa to help reshape the economy, and people are given new chances at mobility, and their world is made more accessible. The same people that do all of that saw something in you, something they wanted to nurture and grow. So when you go back and visit clubs, you show them the results of their investment. You help to shape their view on what RYLA is and help to ensure that they send students for years to come. Now that work, that visit is for the betterment of RYLA and to help others. So what about you? What else are you taking from here that's truly valuable in life? The number one thing I think of are truly the connections. I know I said this earlier, but I'm almost certain that at least half of you have met someone here that can truly change your life for the better. Many of you don't know this, but if you heard me mention my age, you realize it's pretty close to your JC's age. Really close, actually. My very first JC year at Colorado RYLA, I worked alongside Emily and Kate. We were first year JCs together, and though we may not talk much between RYLA, I think this weekend is proof that connection exists, because with a word from Emily, Kate and I were both ready to fly across the country. These connections aren't just between JCs, and they're not just between you as conferees, though. There's another person that's been absolutely critical to my RYLA and my life journey. The same year I became a JC alongside Kate and Emily, I had the opportunity to be with RYLA as my senior counselor. To this day, RYLA is one of my references when I apply for jobs. He's also someone that wrote scholarship letters that helped me get through college, paying myself. A lot of you are in that phase of your life, or will be in the next year or so. I cannot encourage you enough to get your SE's email addresses or phone numbers, because these are people that can advocate for you. These are people who are invested in your success. And I bet if you ask nicely, the one that's been with your group all weekend knows enough about your leadership and your skills to help you out with that. Another post-RYLA opportunity, now what, that you've heard some of us mention, is being involved in Interact. How many of you are already involved in Interact? Oh, we'd love to see it. For those of you that don't know, Interact is the high school and sometimes middle school aged version of RYLA, and Rotaract is a similar program available to college-age people. Both Interact and Rotaract are sponsored by Rotary and emphasize service and community engagements in the same ways Rotary does. Another form of continued engagement with Rotary is Rotary Youth Exchange, which you heard the governor mention on the first day. Rotary Youth Exchanges allow leaders to live outside of their communities, and you'll be sent to live in another country and get to experience their culture up close and personal. And of course, there's always the opportunity to become Rotarians yourself. Please remember, none of this is required of you, but I know there are a lot of you looking for ways to keep the skills you learned here and the RYLA magic alive, and these are some of the ways that work. You can also, of course, apply to join the JC staff next year and help us to provide an amazing experience for the next group of youth. I know I've just given you guys a lot of information, a lot of ways to stay involved, to keep up the momentum, and I know some of you are too tired to even really think seriously about all of that. So for this moment, there's something I want you to do instead. I want you to think about one thing I said. Any one. Just one. One thing you can maybe take out of this speech. Got it? Now let's take a deep breath. In, out. Now I'm only one voice you've heard this weekend, and my RYLA journey is just one RYLA story. So take another minute and think about this weekend as a whole. Pick one thing that really stands out. Think about one thing you've learned, one way you'd like to move forward to being involved, one thing that impacted you deeply, one person that you never want to lose contact with, one skill you can take home, one story you can't wait to tell. At the end of the day, the power of Rotary and the power of RYLA is truly just the power of one idea or one person making an impact in the world. And I hope that regardless of what else you learn, all of you know now, or will know soon, that you can be the one. Thank you.